Hi everyone and welcome to Church Challenge Live. This is the second week of May and we're still covering the theme of the month, which is reducing stress and anxiety. And this week we're looking at how creativity can be used in that respect. Our guest speaker is Claudia, who I have known for almost a year now. And I'm really touched to see what she's doing in that she's trying to help women who have dealt with, overcome past trauma through their creativity and trying to connect with their inner self and their emotions and just express it in a creative way. Now, for those of the community who don't know Claudia as well as I do or have the pleasure to meet her, Claudia, would you be able to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about you?
Hi. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me here. I'm a visual artist. That's the way I describe myself. And I basically use art to help women who are struggling with feelings of frustrations, bottling up their emotions, and they're looking to heal from past trauma. And the reason that I do this is because I myself went through a really dark period in my life. And fortunately, that dark period led me to understand that my past trauma, childhood trauma, had affected most of the way I live. Like my insecurities, my low self-esteem, always feeling kind of like sad and never like in a great state of mind. And more things, of course, was a cause of my trauma, the coping mechanisms that I had created when I was a child. It was still affecting me as an adult. So when I went through a hard, basically a breakup, that just put me like in a really dark place. I call it like I hit an emotional rock bottom, and that led me to propel. Usually they say when you hit an emotional rock bottom, the good thing is that the only way to go up is up. So that's what I did. I started like really getting to know myself, doing self-development, looking into my spirituality. And it led me to, basically the pain led me to back to art, to start creating art. And later on, unknowingly, I realized that art was helping me in so many ways. And that's why I'm beginning to do workshops and work with women, because I want women to heal from whatever is causing them pain and just live life fuller the way that we're meant to live. Mm-hmm. You're muted.
Yeah, and I think thank you for sharing that, and thank you for what you're doing to help women live the way they want to live, and it's all about identity. Now, last week, our guest speaker talked about the Holy Spirit and creativity, and how the creativity is something which the Holy Spirit gifts us. And the first mention of it is when they were being commissioned to create the Ark of the Covenant, where the people who God had told Moses to enable to create it, that the Holy Spirit was coming, and that they had giftings in relation to the materials, the skins, the wood. They had such a great creativity and a gifting. And sometimes when it comes to people and our creativity, that creativity is very different. We tend to compare ourselves to other people, when if the Holy Spirit helps enlighten our creativity and the Holy Spirit is in us, then that means that we are all creative in our own way. And I guess the thing about it is, how do you help people get over that hurdle that they are not creative or they can't do something and just be like you, who's someone who's very creative?
Well, first of all, we are all creative. We have an imagination, and that allows us to be creative. We're creative in different ways. Not everyone draws or paints, but we are capable of doing it. And that's the beauty. That's the gift that God has installed in all of us. And we just have learned to limit ourselves in a lot of ways. So, but not everyone has that desire to draw or paint or use art. So, and that's natural, because we're unique and we have our own purposes. But the thing with art, like when women like art and they say they like it, but they don't know how to draw or they don't know how to do this thing or that, it's not, it's just getting over that limiting beliefs and allowing ourselves to just get in that, what is called that state of flow. And usually I help them with that. And the way that I help them is through different ways. One way is to basically to start cultivating a sense of awareness of themselves or their emotions, of realizing that it's just what is a limiting belief, and then giving them the basics, because there's a basics to everything. I just did a face drawing yesterday, and the women, I have women that are like 70 years old, and I love one of them because she has like never colored and now she's learning to draw. And there's a basics to everything. So it's giving us the space, allowing ourselves to get into that space to be open and learning. And one of the things with art is that it's a way to express ourselves and to expand our imagination and get creative. And when we get into that space, anything is possible. And I love it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of art. That is first of all, is not judging ourselves. They're passionate and allowing ourselves to be who we are. If I'm not perfect in coloring and illustration, it's okay. It's about the process of enjoying that moment and letting myself relax. Because when we're stressed, we're in survival mode and we can't get creative. That's one of the things. Like when we're in survival mode, we can't get creative. We can't let those juices, get activated, and we're not using our imagination the way we should be, because we're using our imagination to survive, to be like ready to attack, to be defensive, and we're not in that growing state that we are meant to be, because that's what was given to us.
I really like that. I really like that, because I don't know if you saw me, I went behind me. I bought these a few weeks ago, and I really felt like I wanted to draw, to just do something different, and just trying my hands. And when you started talking, I was like, "Yay! No, that is so true." When you kind of relax and somehow let the juices flow, I think that was the term you said, just let yourself flow, it will begin to or just begin to do something in you. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But it's just making yourself to sit down. Come on, girl, you can do this. Just relax. Just, yes. I really like it, but it's fun.
Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. And one of the things which I've been learning, Albert Einstein, he used his imagination for most of the things that he did. I didn't even know, I don't even know if you know, he wasn't even good at math. And he knew that he didn't have to be good at math. It was just activating his imagination. So we do it in different ways. Chronic diseases. So these diseases are associated with psychological difficulty, such as and stress. So we make ourselves sick when we're so stressed. And I hear a lot of women say, well, I got to do this. I don't have time to color. Coloring is for kids. It's not for us, but it actually is for us. Any creative art doesn't have to be coloring, painting. It could be music. It could be dancing. We need to put ourselves in that state of relaxation, to be in the flow, to let that imagination be what, it's a gift that was given to all of us. That's why I'm saying we all can be creative. Because when we allowed ourselves to be in that state, we can be healthy. At the end of the day, it's making us healthy. The more stressed we are, we're making ourselves sick. And my whole thing is like, let's be healthier, let's live fuller lives, because that's what I believe God put us here to do, and not to be stressed and in fear.
I guess my question is, it seems something that's a little bit counterintuitive for people, because when you're stressed, relaxing is the last thing you do. It's kind of one of the things that you're, like you said earlier on, you're in that fight or flight mode, and your mind is on something else, concentrate on something else. And it's easy for someone to tell you, why don't you just take some time out and relax, which can end up making you even more agitated because they don't really understand what's going on. So it's that. So I guess the question is like, how do you break that intuition, and how do you get someone just to do something? Because like you said, once you start it, it gives you a mind shift, because it takes you away from where you are to something else and concentrate on something else, which allows you to have that peace you need, which if it's something troubling you're dealing with or trying to find a problem, it can help you find a solution because you're not really thinking about it and you're out of that, that reptilian phase.
So the problem is that we have been conditioned to live the way we live. So if I'm stressed and I have like for me as an entrepreneur, it's like, I'm building my business and I need to be doing this and that and that and that. It's like I don't have time to just go and sit down and color, like what's, doesn't make sense, right? But that's the problem. It is learning to understand ourselves. And that's what I do through the workshops, giving women that self-awareness, because we need to understand that life is not what we've been taught. We need to understand that there's more. Like I talk about emotions. What is an emotion? How it affects us energetically? And what is a suppressed emotion? How is affecting us? What is a repressed emotion? So they're all consequences to suppressing emotions. And we see the effects of it, and then we look for something outside. We think that everything is outside. But that's the beauty of art, that it allows us to look within. So it's important for the person to understand that they got to make that space and that time to look within so they can actually fix or relieve the issues that they have. And, it might not happen. Like for me, it is, and for anyone, it could take a period of time to really understand that. This past week, I was really frustrated because you're having a little bit of trouble here with the Zoom. On Tuesday morning, my phone was not working at all. And there was like a whole bunch of things happening. And I said, I'm going to do this. And I couldn't do it. And then in the evening, I had a call with some friends that is kind of like a mastermind. And my friend said, Claudia, the first thing that I heard is that your home, your place is a mess right now. Because I moved things out of storage. I'm fixing a room. And I had like things, art related stuff all over the place. And I just couldn't handle it. And I remember that everything that happens inside is happening outside, or anything that happens outside is happening inside. Like my place was a clutter. So my head was a clutter. So I listened to her. I was like, you know what? I got to not think about work. And I just got to like organize. I put this shelf together. I put everything in the room. It's nice and organized. My home feels like a home again because I don't have like things all over the place. And now I felt so good that I was ready to work. Like my imagination, and I repeat imagination because when we think, when we have ideas, we are using our imagination. So now I was ready to work. Now I was ready to focus. So the point is that we need to understand that everything that's happening to us, we need to look inside, and it's not just outside. And once the person understands that, they'll make time to stop. It's like taking that pause, stop, reflect, relax, get into that flow state. And that's why meditation is so good. So it all relates, art and meditation. It's all basically, it all relates. Mm-hmm.
I like what you said. And I think sometimes what people tend to forget, that there's creativity in everything we do. Even for example, when you're cooking a meal, and you're cooking a meal for that, there's creativity in what you put, what you can, like if you're cooking something from scratch and you're not following the recipe, there's creativity in that. Even when you're arranging your plate what the food is, there's creativity in that. Even when, like you said, when you're tidying your room, there's creativity in that, in the sense of where do I put different things? And there's a lot that goes into that. So in that respect, we can find creativity if we look for it in different places. That's so true.
So I'll start with meat. For me, when I was in a lot of pain, I was feeling depressed, I was home alone. It wasn't only like a breakup. I'm feeling devastated because of that. My son had left home and I lost my job a few months later. So everything that I had was taken away from me. And I just found myself here alone, feeling miserable. And that's when I started like seeing what do I have to do. And the idea, the desire, not the idea, but the desire to take out my pencils and some paper and start like drawing came to me. And it just felt so good that I was like, oh, like I felt like I needed to do more. And I followed that intuition. I was in a networking meeting this morning, and I'm actually going to connect with this person, which this is a little different, but he was telling me that his friend used art she had a brain injury, and art helped her heal emotionally too. Oh. This is, it's about, like I can say a lot of things, but no one's going to feel it until they start doing it.
Yeah.
And being in that space, because only you will know like how you feel. Mm-hmm. And it's allowing ourselves to just feel again. Even people that suffer from dissociation from trauma, that was one of my things. I didn't allow myself to feel. I didn't express myself. I had a cousin that used to call me, when we were much younger, she used to call me in Spanish muerta, which means dead. Because you could tell me something and I'll be like, It could be like the worst case scenario or the best case scenario. I was never expressive, and I learned to be expressive because, they say when you can't, like when language doesn't help, you can't put it into words. Art will allow you to express yourself. But in art, we're using our mind and body. But it keeps us focused, and that's how it helps, because we start creating new, what is called, let me see if I remember, neural pathways in our brain. We start changing our brain. Our brain actually changes, and that's the cool thing. I don't know a lot of that. I've been studying a little bit of neuroscience and how, it changes our brain, the brain plasticity. So it's just amazing, and it's just magical. And I just wish people will just really stop living the way we've been conditioned to live and start looking into new ways of living, because we see that what we've been taught is not working and it's not helping us.
Yeah. Don't know how to pronounce it, but Dr. Caroline Leaf talks a lot about neuroplasticity, and
I got her book. I haven't read it yet, but yeah.
So I've got her book as well. But no, absolutely agree. Because even as you're talking now, I'm thinking, you know what, Valerie, I can try and I need to stop, and in the moment stop, just think, okay, it's not as bad as it is. What I've been doing, not quite creative, but just lying down and just not saying a word and just being still for a certain period of time. And I do find that when I get up, my brain isn't as heavy and the stress isn't as much, because I've managed to calm myself down. But I do like what you say, art, creativity can be anything, but just getting these the other day and just having a dabble just took me back to school days of drawing. And I'm thinking, I need to get some proper pencils, 2B, HB pencils, and, to really try and get in there. And I really appreciate, and I think I'd love to jump on something that you're doing, next time you have a workshop or something. I think that
sure. Yeah, we can connect. I have this lady that I know. She's a fitness coach online, and I met her through the network. Well, I met her husband, and I happened to see her husband today. And he was telling me, thank you so much that you got my wife to do this, because she had not done any drawing, coloring, nothing since she was a kid. She joined my program where she created her future self-portrait.
Ooh.
And she says like, he was saying like, everything has changed in my house because now she's so creative about everything. Even his kids, that they're more like into, is 2 boys, soccer and like all this sports activity. Now they want to go with their mom to get like coloring pencils or, you know, like coloring supplies. And now his son started like hanging his art on the wall. So it's a good way to connect. It's a good way to express ourselves. It relieves the anxiety. It's a good way to reflect. It's a good way to do what we call self-discovery, discovery of self. I mean, there's so many things that we can do just through sitting down, using some markers or some coloring pencils or paint. But it is beautiful and it's wonderful, and we need it. We need it.
Yeah. So I guess to anyone that's listening, at the end of the day, really, it's how unstressed do you want to be? You know, look for ways to just, I think Abdul was saying it, you know, once you're in the middle of the stress, you know, we're all human, but we almost, as it were, need to give ourselves a little, you know, come on, that's enough now. You've been stressed enough, right? Now let's stop. Now let's try and de-stress.
Yeah, I think it goes deeper than that. And when I think of God, I think of love. God is love. And one thing that we're missing is that we don't know how to love ourselves. And that's the main thing that I got after my whole painful experience, is learning to love and appreciate myself. And because I love myself, and because I appreciate this body that was given to me, I'm going to take care of its health. And I'm going to stop and do what is right for my body. I don't always do it because we don't always do it. But it's actually getting to that point of starting to learning to love ourselves. And what is it that I need to do to take care of myself? Because we don't want to be sick.
Of course not. Yeah.
But we still do everything that is making us sick. So it's like, how do we stop doing the things that are making us sick? How do we stop living in constant fear, constantly stressed about this? And I know there's a lot of issues, work and not having work and stuff. But in between all of that, how can we create a small space to take care of ourselves? That's the bottom line.
So I'm going to ask you, so what would you say to someone just starting off as the first 3 things they can do to help them tap into their creativity? You know, like sometimes when people are angry, we tell them the first thing you do is like take a deep breath, count to 10, and then, you know, discard your first response and go with the second one. You know, that's kind of something to help them go through. So in relation to trying to tap into their creativity, what would you say is the first 3 things people should do? Or if we like a snippet bite-sized thing, like here's creativity in a box. When you're stressed, do this, and that should help you become a little less stressed, at least, or start moving you forward in the creativity realm.
Well, one way, I mean, there's several ways, but one way for people, because a lot of people tell me, well, I love art, but I don't know how to draw. So one way is using coloring books. There are coloring books of mandalas. There's all type of coloring books. So flowers, women, whatever you want, whatever you like the most, just get a coloring book, get some coloring pencils, and make that time. It's kind of, you know, they say sometimes you should take yourself on a date. So it's like, make a date with yourself and just put it on the calendar and just make that time to engage in that. And if you feel like you don't know how to do it, there's so many YouTube videos that you can find. There's like, just put coloring on YouTube and you'll find videos, and then you'll just engage in it. Give yourself an hour to engage in that activity. Maybe in the beginning, just to create the habit, because, you know, everything we do is habits. So it's hard to let go of the habits that we're used to. So instead of watching TV is programming us to keep doing what is not working. So instead of watching TV, make the time to just color and maybe go on YouTube, look at a coloring channel, how to, basics in coloring, or just do it the way, I wish I could show you. Well, I don't have it here. I have it in photos. This weekend I had an event, and a lot of them hadn't color. It was just like a fun event for mothers and child, like daughters or son. And they didn't know how to color, but they colored whatever way they could. And it was just engaging in that activity. So, and the main thing, like I said before, is not being not to be judgmental about how we're doing it. Because if someone's not an artist, they can't, they're not going to do it perfect. And like anything else, like when we were a kid, well, not a kid, a baby, it took us a while to learn how to walk. So I always remember that analogy in anything that I start getting frustrated. It's like, I don't have the experience, you know about the challenges. I don't have the experience. I just got to like do it more. And if I love it and I enjoy it, I'm just going to do more. And that's it. It's just about having that fun and letting our body be in a good state and not be in the survival mode. That's just the point of it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And if I come over, what else can I do apart from a coloring book would you suggest to try and get me a little bit creative and less stressed?
I mean, drawing is good. I love lettering. So kind of like what, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it good, Obiriri, she's doing, that's lettering. Lettering is a creative way. One thing that I used to do is just start like daydreaming. That's why it's so, in my art, like in my portraits, I add words, I weave words into the hair, because when I was feeling so depressed and I was in that dark place, I wanted to feel better. So I started putting affirmations and words of empowerment. So lettering, it's a way. The mandalas, or just drawing flowers, and everything is available to us now through the internet. That's the beauty of the time that we live in now. We can't say, well, I don't know how to do this, because we can Google it and we can find a video on YouTube. So drawing, it's a way, or painting. I mean, each of them is so different. Like I love soft pastels. I was doing it in my class for my art program. I was teaching them, and I don't use them often. But what I love about it is that, it's connecting our senses to it. And just, I wasn't even like drawing or creating anything. I was just using the pastels on the paper, just doing basic shapes, maybe a heart, maybe a star. And just that activity made me feel so good that I had to share it with my group. And I was like, guys, just go and use them. Don't think about it, just do it randomly. And I always say coloring book, because coloring book is going to guide them into coloring a specific thing. But, there's abstract artwork. So not everything has to be like a figure of something. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. Go ahead, Ruby.
No, I was just saying, no, that's really good. That's good. Nothing comes to mind right now, but I'm just feeling kind of excited on the inside that, you know what? Yeah, have a dabble, just have a go. But yeah, at the end of the day, we've got to love ourselves. We've got to stop. If we don't take care of ourselves, who will?
Exactly.
So,
and to your point, Abdul, it's doesn't have to be art. Like when we talk about creative expressions, people can express themselves, like you said, like writing. I love journaling. I'm not like a great writer or anything. I just journal. And that's a form of art, or singing or dancing. A lot of people use dancing. I follow this girl on Instagram that she healed because she just like decided one day, it's like, I'm just going to start dancing. And that's what she does. there's this book that I was reading years ago, and I don't remember the name of the guy. He had a terminal illness and he refused to accept that. And they told him he was going to die. That's it. That's, doctors will tell us what they think is going to happen to us because that's all the knowledge they know. But God is great, so we don't have to accept that. And he didn't accept that, so he decided to use laughter and joy. And then he started watching comedies, and I don't remember the whole story, but he lived. He didn't die. So it's anything that's gonna get us in that state, because we just got to think. I just connected to my body. It makes our body healthy. Like that's one of the things about learning to love ourselves. Like, I want to take care of my body, so I want to do whatever is going to put my body in a good state, because there's plenty of negative things around. Mm-hmm. So it's just fighting that. It's just being proactive about it and doing something different.
Yeah, no, Claudia, I've heard that same story. I think he actually locked himself up in his room for a few days and just laughed. There's actually a movement as well, people that using laughter as a medicine to heal themselves. And I mean, the Bible talks about laughter being a medicine. So yeah, that's really interesting. We can heal ourselves, even through creativity, no matter how small that may be.
We got to start somewhere, and it all goes to creating that habit. That's one of the things that I've been learning to talk with the women that I'm with, because it's like, okay, we might do a workshop today and then it's done, but it's like, how do they start creating that habit? I heard this guy, from I forgot the name of the book of habits. He says that he used to tell this guy, he couldn't get himself to the gym to work out. He's like, okay, go to the gym for 5 minutes. And, it doesn't make sense. You go for 5 minutes, what are you going to do? Nothing. But it was all about creating that habit. So the number one thing people got to do is stop, reflect on their life, like, what is happening in my life and what am I willing to do different? And if I feel I don't have the time, let me make 5 minutes every day. Is creating a discipline also. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but, just find time to enjoy yourself. And that's it.
Yeah, it's taking control of the situation and exercising your authority over it as well, because like you said, God, Jesus has given us authority over our lives and everything else. Stress, anxiety is something which he paid the price for on the cross, and the only way we allow it into our house is if we let it in. It comes knocking on the door, and sometimes I've not left the door unlocked, so they've crept in while we're sleeping. But when we go down to the kitchen and they're in the kitchen, we have the authority, like you said, strangers, to like, yeah, you're not welcome here, get out, kind of whole thing. But we don't. We just sit down and go like, how did you get in? Oh, I forgot that I didn't lock the door yesterday, and you're stressing about what happened in the past, which you can't change. But what you can change is what's going forward, which is kind of holding them out, is grab them by the ear, walk them out and kick them and say, never come back again, kind of whole thing, because we have the authority in Jesus' name to do that. But like you said, sometimes we don't. And like I said, bringing the habit and doing that makes it easier for us to do it every time we need to without any stress and anxiety. It becomes our default thing, because when we're stressed or anxious, we become not sound mind in our thinking, and we tend to rely on our animal instincts and what's just second nature to us, and habits are what are second nature to us, what we do without thinking. And so if we build them up while we're of sound mind and things are going well, that when things don't go well, it's something that we just automatically fall into because our body is so used to it and our body knows into it, and that will help us back out of any dark period we might be, because it just gives us something to be grateful for and a ray of sunshine that is different, which we have some control over in our lives.
Yeah, we just got to take control. I'm just going to get up for a second, that I have someone at the door, but I'm listening.
Actually, I'm going to ask you, Beverly, what made you decide to go pick up the colors and start
There wasn't anything in particular. I've just been thinking, it's been a while now since joining 100X. I think that's kind of where it just kind of stemmed from. Just what am I good at? Because I did my page, my landing page, and I thought, what else can I add on here? And I've actually been thinking I wanted to do words of affirmation, positive words, and just design them, so do something. And then my brother moved, and I thought, I'm going to do like a name thing for the children's bedroom doors. So that was as well, just kind of gave me the motive I needed. And I went to the shop, and they gave me this just blank pages free to just do stuff in, which I kind of started doing stuff on. So
Yay.
Yeah, but I haven't really done much since I did it, but I played around with it in the shop because there was a place to sit down and just doodle, and so I really enjoyed it. So that I guess that's it. And I just remember at school, we had an assignment. We had to draw our faces and just use pencil. And I was one of the highest scoring. So it was really that good. And I always remember it, but it always reminded me of how, so like you were talking about before, Claudia, just that place where everything was just flowing. You were just at peace on the inside. And I remember being that, and it took me days, but it was really nice doing it. And sometimes when I think of that, I think that I'd really want to go back to that place again. So, yeah.
Okay, that's it. So Claudia, if people in the community want to connect with you and reach out to you, what's the best way and how would they go about doing that?
I think the easiest way is the Facebook group that I have now. Like if they want to just start going in there and seeing what I'm doing, like, I am being active on it. I'm just sharing a little more, and I'm going to be sharing more things about mental health because people don't really connect this to so much. So I don't know. I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, and what is it? What's the name of the Facebook group?
Say it out. Yeah,
it's called Color with Intention.
Okay.
Oh, that's how do you spell color though? Because you got the American color and you got the English, the UK color.
The English.
COLOUR.
COLOR. Let me just write it here.
So the American one.
It's funny because I'm not. Well, let me write it. Color with Intention, and I'll just give you the link. So the funny thing is that I'm Colombian, and every time I'm gonna spell color or behavior, I always add that U, and I have no idea why. It's just like a natural instinct for me. And I was like, I never been in London, or I never, and it's not like we use it in Spanish. So it's interesting.
It's the correct way of spelling it, not the American
Maybe
way.
that's
the whole thing about it. So I want to say, Claudia, thank you once again for your time. And for everyone watching it, what I would say and what I've learned from this interview is there's always something when you were younger which you enjoyed and gave you, made you smile and involved some creativity, whether it was cooking, reading, writing, drawing, just doodling, kind of whole thing about it. And whatever it is, try to think back and find out what it was again. And when you're feeling stressed or anxious or just something, kind of whole thing about it, carve some time where it will be just like, stop what you're doing, take a deep breath, and just do that thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. If it's cooking, it's not necessarily, I want to do a gourmet meal. It's just to get into that practice, because what you're trying to do is get your brain and your mind off the thing which is stressing you out. And also, if you're not one of those people who's not in one of those situations where you're feeling stressed or anxious at the moment, is try to get creativity into your daily, if possible, if not weekly life, where you just do something which just essentially gets your right brain going, because one thing what I'm saying is like we have been programmed to do more left brain thinking, and we are both left brain and right brain, so we need to increase both of them. So that's what I say, and that's a lot. So thank you once again, Claudia, for your time and for everything you said and your insight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. It was fun. I actually enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I'm glad. You're welcome. And thank you for inviting me and talking about this, because I love this.